Hello, how are you? This is Matthew from Love Buddy with another daily Love Tip Live. We talk about little things that can help us every day to have a more loving life, to have a better life, to have a happier life, more joyful life, have more meaning in our lives. So today's Love Tip is about self-discipline and laziness. Self-discipline and laziness. And this is something that I don't know if it's come up for you much, where you've seen that in yourself, where you've been accused of that, where you've accused others of lacking self-discipline or being lazy, struggling with discipline yourself. These things have definitely come up with me. When I was young, I was accused by my mother, sometimes, not all the time, but of being lazy, call me a lazy bum. And a lot of it was just kind of loving, but part of it was also um, to tell me, hey, you're not motivated. Hey, there's something wrong. You should you should spring into action. And I struggled with that, especially when it came to school, because I didn't really enjoy going to school. I didn't enjoy from just the first day of school when I was in, I guess it was kindergarten. I wasn't motivated. So I quit kindergarten and I went to work every day with my mother instead of sitting in the kindergarten and eating cookies, drinking milk, taking a nap, and rolling a ball around the room. Just didn't work for me. And I thought, well, maybe I'm just being lazy. Maybe I'm missing out on something. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Then later on, when I was in junior high school and then high school, my grades got worse and worse, and I had lost interest in the regular curriculum. I didn't want to get up in the morning. I dreaded getting up in the morning and going to school. And a lot of times I would just make myself sick, or I would pretend I was sick, and I would just not go to school for the day. And there was a lot of guilt. There was a lot of fear about the repercussions. There was a lot of anxiety around having this feeling where I just didn't want to do it. So this can be a kind of a manifestation of where something we might call lack of discipline, something we might call laziness. But when we really scrutinize that, when we really look at that, what's the cause of that? Well, in my case, I can tell you that school was not the right thing for me. The school that I was in, it didn't match who I was. And my style of education was outside of school. I never really learned much at all in school. Of all the things that I know, less than 0.001% I learned in school. In fact, I'm trying to remember something I learned in school in all the years that I went to school. I started going to the library as a kid, and that's the way I like to learn. And then at home, I had my own chemistry set, and I had my own experiments and things I was doing, totally outside of school. And then now I study on the internet, and I'm self-employed. I started my own companies, and I don't fit well in the corporate environment. And it's something that I have dreaded being part of, dreaded getting up in the morning and going to work and do software like I used to do software full time. So for me, what you might call laziness or lack of self-discipline had completely nothing to do with that. It had to do with lack of motivation, that's for sure, but it had nothing to do with being a lazy person or a person lacking discipline. It had a lot more to do with not being self-aware, not being in touch with who I was, not knowing what I loved, and not loving myself, not nurturing myself, not knowing how to nurture myself, especially as a kid. We really don't know how, we really don't know what's going on. We don't know how to express ourselves. And a lot of times as an adult, we can even have that same kind of a problem where we don't know what is going on with me. Why am I so dissatisfied? Why am I so resisting? Why am I resisting this so much? And sometimes even if we know ourselves, we're lacking the communication skills to tell others in a way that's gonna work, that's gonna be an effective style of communication, where they're gonna acknowledge it and we're gonna feel like, okay, I've managed to express myself clearly and solving a problem by doing that. So when we feel lazy, when we lack discipline, when there's something we don't want to do, we don't have the clarity in our mind of the benefits that it's going to bring us. We don't feel the benefits. And this is directly related to a lot of addictive behaviors too, where we might fall back on overeating, that's the one that I know about. We fall back on being an addict to maybe cigarettes or maybe to alcohol or to drugs, or it could be to anything. That could be a way to escape and a way to get away, when really we just need to be more in touch with ourselves. And when we're in touch with ourselves, when we understand what love is and self-love is, and we practice self-love, and we love ourselves, then we know. Because we know ourselves. We know what we need. We know what we want. We know what's best for us. And we don't try to commit, or we don't allow ourselves to be talked into things we don't really want to do, things we don't really feel motivated to do, things that we don't see will be beneficial for us. So when it comes to laziness, you look at a person who's lazy, who's lying on a couch, eating snacks and watching TV. Can we call that person lazy? Okay, maybe they fit the definition of lazy, but is that an accurate description? Is that a helpful description? This is a person who hasn't found their motivation. If they're doing that all the time, sometimes it's okay. But if they're doing that all the time, they're not really actualizing, they're not really developing as a human being. They're not nurturing themselves and empowering themselves and becoming a beautiful expression of who they really are. This is a person that needs love. This is a person who needs to understand what love is and how to love themselves and how to be a loving person to their environment by developing into someone who's really being really great at being themselves, and that's a contribution to the rest of us. If we see someone lacking in self-discipline, they don't want to get up in the morning and exercise, or they don't want to show up on time, or whatever it takes. You know, when I think about discipline, a lot of times I think about exercise, because that's a really good example. People have this ideal, they have this dream. Okay, January 1st, it's a new year, my New Year's resolution, I'm going to join a gym. So all the gym memberships skyrocket. It's a great time for them to make big money, and they don't have to worry because nobody shows up, or most all the people don't show up to do the exercise. Maybe they'll show up for the first couple of weeks in January, then it starts tapering off. February, by March, maybe 80% of those people haven't shown up. They don't show up anymore. Why? Is that lack of self-discipline? Is that laziness? We can use those labels if we want, but these are not helpful labels. They don't help us to empower that person, help that person to see, well, okay, if you really wanted to come to the gym, then what's in the way of doing that? What are the things you don't like about the gym? What makes it difficult about the gym? What other things are going on in your life that are distracting you? What beliefs do you have about your own ability? What are the distractions? What are the barriers? What are the hurdles? What are the problems with doing that? These are the questions that we ask ourselves and each other when we want to be in a position of nurturing. Lack of discipline, laziness, it's always, every time a lack of nurturing and understanding. Once we find something we love to do, that person who's normally lying on the couch and eating snacks and watching a TV program, if they're outside because they had to go a few blocks away, you'll see them run back to catch their favorite program, because that's something that's motivating to them. That's something that's interesting to them. There are things that they will run, they'll almost have a heart attack trying to go catch on time, or to do, or follow through with. This isn't a lazy person. This is a person who hasn't found themselves. This is a person who doesn't know how to nurture themselves. And when we understand love, when we're love-centered, the more we love, the more life we have, the more life is in us every day, the more we grow, the more we expand, the more we can express ourselves, and the more we become this beautiful expression of who we are. And that's one of the wonderful things about having love as our life center, having love as our foundation in life. Okay, so that's it for today. That's today's love tip. It's about laziness, it's about self-discipline. We need self-awareness, we need motivation. Don't be afraid, and practice self-love. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful day. I hope your life is filled with love. I love you. Bye-bye.